Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to Center Court. We are focused on specialty master's degrees. Right now we have actually on our panel four folks who represent the business analytics degree, which is the fastest growing specialty master's degree there is. The latest survey by GMAC, in fact, showed that no program in this area had a faster growth rate in terms of application volume than programs in data analytics. And then the single most popular master's program remains the Master's in Finance, and we'll have that represented on our panel as well. So let me introduce everyone and get us started. From UCLA, we have Paul Brandano. He's the executive director of their Master's of Science in Business Analytics. He has a guitar in the background. I wonder if he'll play it for us and if there's a connection between music and analytics. There might be. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
We have Greg Beaver, who's the executive director of the MBA, MS, and PhD programs at Purdue University's Krannert School of Management. And welcome, Greg. He's going to talk to us about their business analytics program, but we might even venture into some of the other programs that you offer. We have Bruce Watson from the University of Arizona, the Eller School, who is going to talk to us about their business analytics program. He's director of recruitment for the specialty master's programs. And you might give us a clue as to what other offerings Arizona has. We have Brock Schroeder from Case Western University's Weatherhead School, who will talk to us about both the finance and the business analytics programs at Weatherhead. He is director of admissions there. And I don't know is Kate here yet? I haven't seen.
I am here. Hi.
There you are. Okay.
Hello.
Great. We have Kate Mickle, who is from San Diego, beautiful San Diego. Look at a palm tree behind you.
This is our beautiful campus, University of San Diego.
I know it's not a real background, but boy, is it lovely. Wow.
It is. It is a beautiful, beautiful place to work and study.
No doubt. And Kate is Senior Director of Graduate Business Admissions. Welcome, and we'll talk to us about your Master's of Finance program, right?
As well as our business analytics as well.
See? Business analytics.
Got to be part of the party.
It's super hot, really is. So let's start with the basics. We'll start with you, Greg. You know, how long has your programs been around, and what do they cover? Who's attracted to them, and who best do they serve?
Yeah, great question. So we actually offer 10 different master's degrees, and they date back over 20 years. Our newest is the actual Business Analytics and Information Management program. But since this is the forum, I will mention we also have a Master of Science in Finance as well. Each of the programs are somewhere between 30 and 36 credit hours, depending upon which program you would go into. And as far as my screen is frozen. Can you still hear me? I apologize.
I can hear you well. Yes, actually.
Okay.
No problem.
I apologize. As far as the length of our programs, they're pretty consistent with most other programs out there. Both the finance and business analytics programs start in the summertime. The business analytics is a 30 credit hour program, and our finance program is a 36 credit hour program. As far as attraction of students, Purdue has consistently been ranked one of the most populous as far as international students. So in our starting class, we had students from 39 different countries this past year into our Master of Science programs. We're very proud of that because we do believe that we have a global representation, and that's also taught in the classroom as well. So that's kind of the profile of the students. It's very varied, and the lengths are a little bit different.
And of the 10 programs, what would you say is the most unique or unusual?
I don't know that I'd categorize them as unique or unusual, but I would certainly say, and this is consistent with what you opened up with, business analytics has been the most popular. We started the program 4 years ago. We're recruiting for our 5th cohort, and the demand has been off the charts. Our admittance rate for that program is the lowest because we have so many applications for the business analytics program. Most of our programs, and particularly with the business analytics, incorporates a learning module, if you will, an active learning project where you're engaged with folks in corporations to help solidify what's taught in the classroom through a project and actually bring something that you've learned into the classroom as far as an active learning project to fruition while you're in the program.
Great. And they're all pre-experience programs, right? Or do you require work experience for some of them?
You know, some of our programs we do require no work experience. Most of them at the graduate school here at Krannert, we are looking for some. Most of our students that come into the business analytics program do have about 3 to 5 years of work experience, but we do some direct admits for students that are wanting to matriculate straight from undergraduate. And most of our students that take that path are generally STEM educated in their baccalaureate degree and looking to bridge that gap between technology and business. And it really complements, we get a lot of students that come out of engineering schools. I think some of that is based on the reputation of Purdue as a school of engineering. But interestingly, Krannert was actually born out of the School of Engineering back in the 1960s. And that's how we began. So we tend to attract a lot of STEM students into our business analytics program.
Right, makes sense. And Paul, what's the outlook at UCLA? How many programs do you have? I know you're going to talk about business analytics as well. Give us a sense for that.
Absolutely. Good morning, John, and thank you to you and Poets and Quants for having us. And I would echo a lot of what I heard from Greg at Purdue. We not only share John Wooden, but also we share a lot of the same characteristics in our degrees. We have a total of 7 degree programs at UCLA Anderson. 5 of those are MBA programs, a full-time program, part-time executive MBA, and what is a global executive MBA partnering with NUS. In addition, we have our first specialty master's program, the Master of Financial Engineering, started 10 years ago. Actually, now it's about 14. I've been saying 10 for 4 years, and we've been around for 4 years ourselves. And we're also recruiting our fifth class. Similar cohorts in the sense that we bring in, we try to bring in as quant as we can, but we also recognize that there's kind of 2 ends of the spectrum. We think about management-oriented quants and quantitatively oriented managers, and we try to bring them together in the same community. And I would agree that our younger student tends to be a student who is more a pure quant coming out of engineering or computer science or mathematics and aiming to learn more about business or build on probably a number of internships that have sort of already pointed them toward business for some time. So our students run about 2.5 years of experience on average. And again, I think looking at the question, we try to be a little bit more quant than the average business program so that we can differentiate, be a little bit younger and a little bit more quantitative across the board.
And it's a 1-year program, right?
We're 15 months. We started 13 months. We built our program on what was the chassis of the MFE, only to find that they were going to a full online fall, on campus fall. They're in their 10th year. And now we actually, within a year, quickly shifted to an on-campus only program. And I mentioned it because it was actually, I would say, looking back in the 4 years, that ability to turn on a dime had turned out to be not only important, but a big factor in the way that we interact with our students and continuously improve as a program.
Yeah. And you're looking for quant experience beforehand or quant aptitude, in part because I'm assuming the program must be pretty quantitative, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, one of the things that we say in our info sessions that is true is that the degree was born from our faculty, in particular the decisions, operations, and technology management faculty, although we pull from other faculty as well. And they had a genuine interest in bringing more of their PhD to the classroom. And so to the extent that we can, we prepare them to be ready for what amounts to nearly a PhD version of the marketing analytics course, the competitive analytics course, and the operations course that you might take in an MBA program, but just a level deeper, maybe more generally aimed at a quantitative student.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah.
Kate over at San Diego, give us the full picture of your graduate management specialty master's program.
Sure. We have a number of graduate master's programs at our School of Business. Some of them have been around for 20 plus years, like our Master's of Science in Executive Leadership. We have a master's in supply chain management. The two newest are our MS in Finance and our MS in Business Analytics, of course. Finance started in 2015. Business Analytics, we are now working with our second cohort. Both programs are 10 months in length and geared towards people who are either coming right out of undergrad or are fairly early in their careers. With business analytics, we've already seen a bit of a shift in terms of the type of person that's looking for the program. While we still have a majority of individuals who have little to no work experience, I'm finding that we now have some folks who might have 4 or 5 years of work experience realize that analytics and data, that is the new international language of business, and they want to stay relevant and competitive. And so we find some people who are coming back to really just add a brand new skill set to their resume. And so that's been an interesting change that we've seen very, very quickly, just within our second and third years of the program.
And I bet you that's caused in part by, frankly, the need by business to basically make sense out of all the overwhelming data that they have and to try to translate it and make it useful for decision making. And people
Absolutely.
who are already in these companies and seeing these companies struggle see an opportunity to get a degree that will help them do exactly what's needed in business.
Yeah, absolutely. And analytics is a course that's being added, I would say, across the board, even in our supply chain management program. Analytics is one of the top skills that professionals need. So it makes sense that this business analytics programs are just exploding the way they are.
Great. And Bruce, give us a sense for the portfolio of programs at Arizona.
Absolutely. So we have 17 graduate level business programs, 5 of which are MBAs and 12 of which are specialized masters. And then we do 6 PhDs as well. So we have a pretty broad portfolio. We do offer both an MSBA and an MS in Finance. The MSBA program can be done in either 2 or 3 semesters. The most popular is a 10-month version, which has them start in the fall and graduate in the spring. Finance is a 12-month program typically, but does also have that flexibility for 2 or 3 semesters. So it can really be 12 or 16 months, depending on the need of the student. And then one of the things about our programs that we really prize is our flexibility. So we actually do offer the option to do these as a dual degree as well. So our MS in Finance and our MS in Business Analytics can be done concurrently as a 2-year program to really capture that quantitative side of both of those fields. We have a number of dual degrees in combination with everything else as well. Our business analytics is one of our newer programs. Our first cohort for that started in the fall of 2019. So we are going into year 3. And then finance is a few years older than that. So business analytics, relatively new for us, but we are very well known for our MIS program. It tends to be top ranked amongst public institutions for a program of its kind. And the business analytics program is offered in the same department as MIS. So we're experimenting with business analytics, exactly what the difference is between a student that wants an MIS versus MSBA, still working on that. And then that can be done as a dual degree as well. So we have quite a few options.
And how many people did you bring in the first cohort for business analytics?
Our first cohort was very small. I believe we had about 10 students.
And what about the second one?
The second one grew a little bit. I believe we admitted 20. And then this year we are going for somewhere between 30 and 40.
Ah, wow.
So we're going in the right direction.
You doubled in the first year into the second. And now you're going to go 50% or more in this.
We're hoping to. Yeah. Like I think everyone on the call, our business analytics program tends to lean pretty heavily international. And I think just like everyone else, we're waiting to see what that's going to look like in terms of people being physically able to get here and join with all of the visa issues. But we're hoping.
Yeah, me too. and Brock at Case Western, what are the offerings?
Yeah, so at the Weatherhead School of Management, we have obviously undergraduate programs, but a full selection in our MBA suite, full-time, part-time, executive, We even partner with the Cleveland Clinic and offer an MBA in collaboration with them that focuses in healthcare. And then we have several PhD programs. One of our key or signature programs that we offer here for many years is in positive organizational behavior, with such faculty as Richard Boyatzis, who's collaborated with Daniel Goleman in the area of emotional intelligence. And so that tends to permeate and have programs both at the master's as well as the doctoral level. But then in our specialized master's programs, we have a full suite: accountancy, finance, supply chain management, positive organizational development, healthcare management, a full set of those. But then about 6 years ago, we began our business analytics, Master of Business Analytics and Intelligence program. And it has steadily brought in, grew up to about 60 students until this last fall with the pandemic. And then it did shrink back down due to the, again, what Bruce mentioned, the visa issues.
Right.
And so because we do skew heavy international population for the business analytics program. And then the other thing too to mention, and hopefully we can talk a little bit more about this later, but one of the things that we've really discovered that it's fascinating is the need for that analytics across all sorts of industries and disciplines. And so we've released a new strategic plan for the School of Management, and it's called Destination Weatherhead. And one of the 4 pillars of our strategic plan is analytics across all programs. And so we are seeing the demand for analytics, not just as a degree program, which still has that demand, but we're seeing that demand in like our finance, Master of Finance program. We have 3 tracks alone where students can take additional electives just in various areas of analytics. And so for us, analytics is not just a degree, it's kind of a mindset and a tool that we want to see students be able to have that skill set, both the hard skills of analysis, but also the soft skills of communication, effective communication with that analysis. And so that is really now beginning to permeate all of our degree programs.
Fascinating. And I think that that's true across the board, given how important data and business analytics have become in business.
Exactly.
And what are your programs? Okay, positive organizational development. Now that's unique, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And the people who are aimed at that kind of program, are they people who will ultimately work in the human resources function?
yeah, you're going to see human resources, social services, individuals that are involved in even in recruiting individuals, as many different companies face challenges in changing culture potentially, or other issues related to staffing. We see that they need that sense of understanding how to foster that positive organizational behavior, from the point of recruitment all the way through until you have seasoned, career professionals in your organization.
Is that a pre-experience program?
Yes, that program does require work experience. So our BA, the business analytics program, while we don't require students to have that level of professional experience, we do see students coming in with about a year or 2 of experience, sometimes getting involved in a job and beginning to see the skill sets that are necessary or that are needed to advance. So we again, minimal experience, but we do see that small amount of experience is coming in.
And Brock, what's driving the demand? I mean, why are non-MBA master's degrees in business proving so popular?
Fascinating that you would say that, because I think what I continue to see, what our faculty have also observed as we have, great corporate partners that help advise our program, serve on advisory boards. What they tend to see is, especially with students seeking, coming right out of undergraduate programs, especially liberal arts programs, and many of our specialized master's programs draw those liberal arts students. They want to see some hard skills that they can put to work right away with some new employees. And so whether it's accounting, or if it's finance, or supply chain, or the business analytics, those programs in particular, there are some hard skills that are desperately needed to apply in a fairly quick manner. Plus, these are programs where we partner with all these corporations, businesses, different organizations to offer internships, those paid internships that then result in the jobs. And so I think many of these companies, again, cutting across multiple industries, are seeing that if they can invest a little bit up front with low risk, an internship, and kind of take the advantage of what's learned in the classroom and put it in an application setting in a particular industry and a department within that industry, that allows them to kind of really build that new employee, recruit them, hire them, and have them hit the ground running to be able to apply those skills in very meaningful ways.
Yeah, totally. Paul, you have a take on this?
So yeah, in fact, when we think about bringing our students into the world with the MSBA, we start with the feedback loop of corporate in mind. So we built our degree. One of the first things we recognized was the need to build organic relationships beyond what we had in our MBA programs with outside organizations and recruiters, in order to balance the true experience in the classroom. And so we started by bringing them into the classrooms themselves. We have a course called the Industry Seminar, for example, that runs 20 weeks. And we designed it not to be just war stories, but rather to have the executives who might eventually hire our students challenge them in the classroom in a 3-hour session, first by telling them about the nature of the business analytics in their industry, and then ultimately to ask them to present or solve some grand challenge in a very short period of time. And so we've recently done that, across industry over the last couple of years. And similar to Case Western, we find that our student interest and background and demand from the outside is so broad that it creates a unique opportunity and honestly an enjoyable challenge to bring an increasing number of case studies and ideas to every classroom, to all of our electives, and ultimately to use those relationships to leverage internships and ultimately full-time jobs. So it's been a really nice experiment to participate in, and then to see grow into fruition with these degree programs. I'm sure my peers all agree with that. It's quite a lot of fun to run an MSBA degree these days.
Yeah. Greg, can you speak to the benefits of specialization versus a broader educational experience like the MBA? I imagine that there are a number of people out there who say, okay, should I go and get a specialty master's now, or should I wait and get the MBA in 3 to 5 years, particularly if they're newly undergraduate graduates?
Yeah, and thanks for the question. First, I don't think it's mutually exclusive, and a lot depends upon what your undergraduate degree was in, how much work experience you have, and how relevant was that work experience. Interestingly, through our MBA program, we also offer a concentration in business analytics, where you would take the exact same business analytics core classes as you would if you were in the business analytics program. It tends to be more that people with less work experience, or folks that know exactly what they want to do, gravitate more towards a specialized degree. I know I want to be in business analytics or information management and help businesses grow by using data and making good database decisions. The MBA obviously is a broader degree in respect that you'll be taking accounting and finance and strategy and all the other things that go along with the MBA. Is more of a generalist degree, but twice the amount of time and almost twice the number of credit hours. And so I think that depending upon where you are in your academic and professional career would dictate one might be better than the other. And I know at Purdue, and I'm pretty sure most schools, you could come in and get your master's in a particular degree and then use a portion of those hours actually towards your MBA to actually dual count those in a dual degree or combined degree type of environment. So I think for the younger person who's maybe very new into their career, a specialized degree may get them there a little bit quicker, but at some point you may potentially hit a ceiling if you're looking to get into one of the C-suites. And then the MBA really rounds you out so you understand the implications across the entire organization.
Yeah, and this goes back to what Brock said about liberal arts grads. Now, I love liberal arts. I'm sure many of you were liberal arts grads, in fact, and just like me, political science and English. And years ago, more companies had training programs, rotational programs for entry-level employees. Fewer companies now offer those kinds of programs, and they do expect you to come and hit the ground running, meaning that you have the tools and the ideas and the techniques to actually get work done. And that's what these specialty master's programs really do. They make you work ready, and they make you be able to contribute from day one, which is a really essential thing to do in today's work world.
But I
Kate,
think,
yeah,
oh,
right.
I was going to say, you know, I think you really hit on something there. And I was an arts major myself in my undergrad before I went on and got my MBA at Purdue. So I'm actually an alum here. And I spent 30 years in industry before I came to the university. And what I found was some of my top performers had developed both the left side and the right side of the brain. So there was the creative, and then you bolt on the ability to do quantitative analysis to validate something that you're trying to prove or disprove is really a magic combination. So, you know, a lot of people have said, oh, well, it's got to be a STEM background. And I would challenge that and say there's advantages and disadvantages to both things as it relates to undergraduate and specifically what work you've had in your professional career.
Yeah, really true. You want to be left and right brain, not one. Work
That's
with
exactly
your
right.
whole brain. Bring your whole brain to the job, right? Like Paul, who's creative and plays music, and look, he's the head of the business analytics program. That's quant based. There you go.
Believe it or not, I'm in a dad band after my MBA. And it's
All right.
driven by that very, yeah, that very.
What's your favorite cover to play?
Well, we cover a lot of things, but I love to, you know, do the Rolling Stones, right? I mean, who doesn't love that on stage?
There you go. Okay. Kate, what kind of candidates are you looking for your programs? I mean, what are they typically like, and what are the attributes that you're really focused on in determining who gets in and who doesn't?
Sure. Well, fellow liberal arts grad right here. And I would say that the majority of our students are coming from similar kind of background. We do have a lot of USD undergrads who just have loved their experience at University of San Diego and want to continue on. In all of our programs, we actually have a high percentage of alumni, partially because it's San Diego and partially because USD is just such a special place to work and study. Our candidates in general, certainly for MSF and the MS in Business Analytics, they do need to have high proficiency in quantitative skills. So we will be taking a look at what their undergraduate background is. Business Analytics requires at least a pretty significant background in statistics. Our MS in Finance program requires coursework in calculus as a prerequisite. And then we'll take a look at GRE or GMAT scores and take a look at the quantitative performance there. So that's certainly a very important component. But the second piece, you know, kind of going back to that left brain, you know, left side of the brain, right side of the brain, we need people who are also really good communicators. You know, again and again, when recruiters and people hiring graduate business students are surveyed, you know, communication skills is probably the number one or number two skill that they're looking for. Some of the technical things can still be taught on the job. You certainly want to have a strong program in terms of the technical basics, but those communication skills are really key. And so we are looking for individuals across all of our graduate programs who are well-rounded and can really speak about their backgrounds in an eloquent manner, are personable, again, just well-rounded. But I will add that as part of our master's degree programs, that's also an integrated part of our curriculum, is doing a lot of project-based work, a lot of public speaking, a lot of presentations, because we know that those are the skills that are in demand. So we're looking for people who already have that great potential and maybe in a lot of ways are you know, already halfway there or mostly there. And then those are the kinds of skills that we're refining throughout the master's degrees.
Now, I know a number of schools are promoting waiver policies and standardized tests these days. And some schools have actually made standardized tests optional. Across the board here, are GMATs and GREs required for all your programs? Are you waiving in some cases? When you waive, who do you waive for? Or is it test optional? Bruce, want to start it?
Yeah, I'd love to. We have made decisions on a very program by program basis in terms of the testing requirements. Some of our programs have never required test scores. We have some of our online programs that are a little bit geared more toward working professionals. I think of our Master's in Healthcare Management program geared toward doctors, those who want to go into hospital leadership, who much of the time will have a prior advanced degree. And so we don't require scores for a program like that. And then some are blanket waiving them for this year due to COVID and the complications with that. And then we do have a few of the more technical that are requiring. Our business analytics program is one of those that is still requiring test scores, as is our MIS program. So we're a little bit of a mixed bag, and it was made on a program by program decision by the staff and the faculty that work for those and what they thought served their needs the best.
Yeah, and that kind of makes sense because I think in programs that require more quantitative skills, you want to have the assurance that someone's going to come in and successfully complete the program without much difficulty. In a program that may not be as quanty, you probably don't need it. Or the transcript, GPA, interview, and other aspects of the application are enough to determine whether or not the candidate is suited for the program. Brock, is that same situation at Weatherhead?
Yeah, in fact, this year we've gone test optional for nearly all of our programs that had required it. Very similarly for adult, those programs that are part-time or geared toward working adults, obviously that was not an issue, but for the full-time programs and especially these specialized master's programs, we did require the GMAT or GRE, but this year decided, to allow that to be optional for students, not necessarily something that they didn't have to or were asked not to, but they got the choice. It's up to you. You can waive that requirement or you can still submit your scores. We saw a huge drop in the number of test takers, and everybody else, I'm sure, is very aware of that. And so because of that, the lack of access to taking the test, we knew that would be really a barrier for many students, not having the ability to take that test, either one of those tests.
Yeah, I know our own surveys have shown that 2/3 of the top 100 MBA programs full-time are actively promoting waiver policies or have gone completely test optional this year, largely because of the pandemic and the difficulty of taking the test, or because people have had all kinds of different results on the online versions of the test, including many reports of technological problems.
Yeah.
The UPS guy comes to the door, rings the doorbell, and suddenly your
Interruption.
computer crashes during the GMAT test. Oh, wow.
And all those people getting new puppies, right? New puppies they're adopting. All of a sudden you got puppies around you.
And Kate, Paul, and Greg, I'm assuming there are similar policies regarding standardized tests, although for Paul, given the quant nature of both your programs, I would imagine you really require the GMAT or GRE, right?
Yeah, speaking for the specialty masters, we require the GMAT and GRE. We talk about our admissions process as a unicorn hunt, though, and much like Kate, we're looking for someone who's truly balanced, and it almost becomes a quant table stakes in the sense that if we can test for it in an interview, in addition to a solid GRE and GMAT score, then we're generally going to be pretty comfortable that you'll be okay. But really the difference maker in our admissions process is being able to show us that you've got that sort of X factor, the unicorn element.
And as much as I hate standardized tests, I want to tell everyone out there that actually studying for the GMAT or the GRE is helpful preparation before you enter a graduate program. Graduate programs are rigorous, they're demanding. All of these schools here are not just going to hand you a degree, you're going to really have to work for it. And to the extent that you start early by studying for these tests and getting more familiar with calculus and statistics and data analysis, it helps put you in the right frame of mind to enter the program best prepared to do well in it, above and beyond having to get a certain score. So that there is value in just preparing for a standardized test, as much as I hate them.
You know, we actually see, in addition to preparing for the standardized test, that you know, an economics student who comes in and has taught themselves Python just tells us a lot about where they see the world going, and it's those, you know, those little extra steps that can make all the difference for us.
Yeah. Now, Bruce, even though we're talking about specialty programs in business, I wonder to what extent these programs help focus on or emphasize soft skills. Kate made the point that she's really looking for applicants who have great communication skills. But once you're in a program that's, let's say, data analytics or supply chain or finance or accounting or marketing, how much emphasis is placed on soft skills, which tend to be pretty important in being successful in business?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I would say there definitely is emphasis. For us, we like to think of the review process as being very holistic. Some of our programs require an interview, some don't. Some, you know, as everyone on the call I'm sure can say, the English proficiency standards are pretty heavily weighed across the board when a student is coming from a country other than the US. But I would say it's very important. It definitely varies by program. We have an MS in marketing that we offer here that tends to be primarily domestic students. But for the international students that do come in, we actually have a fairly high threshold on those English proficiency scores, because we want to make sure that the conversations, in addition to, of course, all of the course content, are just as robust as everything else that's happening in the classroom. For, you know, our business analytics program in particular, those scores are still very important, both the English proficiency scores as well as the qualitative side of both the GMAT and the GRE. So all of our programs do accept both of those tests, provided, you know, they're requiring it this year. And I would say, you know, maybe they lean one way or another given the nature of the program, but they're certainly both taken into account.
But in the program itself and in the curriculum, I'm wondering how much attention is devoted to soft skills. Things like, how do you work in a team with diverse people? How do you lead others? How do you do an effective presentation that persuades people one way or the other?
Absolutely. So classroom discussion is a big part of all of our programs, including our online programs, which utilize discussion through our online learning platform. But many of our classes are group-based, project-based. In fact, a few of our programs that offer a capstone type of project at the end tend to lean toward that being of a group nature as opposed to an individual nature. So the group skills, the communication skills, the soft skills in general, time management, something that we really emphasize. And in fact, communication during the admissions process is something that we take very seriously. If you were, you know, not answering for lengths of time, and then all of a sudden are like, okay, nothing else worked out, I really want to continue. It's like, well, you know, being able to communicate in a business way, in a professional way, is just as important as the, you know, hard skills that we look for as part of the admissions process.
Right. Greg, is that true at Purdue?
Yeah, it absolutely is. It is part of our curriculum. So it is a core class during the first module, communication skills, and students can go on to take advanced. We use a case-based method of teaching, so there's a lot of interaction in the classroom, group assignments. We also pay for our students to go to case competitions off campus when permitted. This year was a challenge, but we still participated in some virtually. And then also for our business analytics program, we pay for all our students to go to the Informs concert. I got the music theme from the guitar. To the Informs conference. And we've been very successful. Last year, I believe 19 out of the 23 submissions were actually asked to present at that. So we're very proud of our success rate at the Informs conference. And we think all of those things collectively better prepares the students. That's in addition to a lot of the one-on-one counseling and mock interviews that we get through our Career Center using alumni and industry professionals to help better prepare students to go out and look for jobs.
Right. That's great. Now, Paul, if I had the opportunity to sit down with your graduates of either of the finance or the analytics programs and to ask them what were the 3 experiences in the program that most resonated with them, things that really, you know, turned them on, that made them really enjoy the program that years later they'll remember? What would be the three things?
Great question. So first and foremost, I would say the curriculum, the general learning environment. I think we strive as an MSBA degree to be sort of top tier, bring a combination of ladder faculty and sort of thought leadership from the PhD, but also from the marketplace. And so I think just the general educational environment would be one of the things they would say. We have a one Anderson culture that we push pretty heavily. And as a new program, I would say, and I'm sure this is something that my peers might have seen as well, coming into the world as a degree program, you kind of have to both, put your feet on the ground, but also sort of tell everybody you're here. And so we've done a lot as a program to bring our groups together. And so I would say that early on in the year, we start what amounts to a series of social events that is really one Anderson oriented. So I would say that sort of culture piece, being able to work in clubs, attend competitions, is a big one. And then I would say otherwise beyond that, we lead with mantras, things like be bold, surprise them, always be on. These are ideas that sort of push as we talked about, a candidate who won't necessarily be the brightest social light in the room, and at least initially, to really get out of their shells. And the highlight of that is work we do with the groundlings here in Los Angeles. They're sort of the minor leagues of Saturday Night Live. And within the first couple of days of becoming a new MSBA candidate at UCLA Anderson, you are thrown into a groundling session and improving your way, through a full day. We actually just did session number 2 with them this past week. And they actually surprised our graduates at graduation last year with a show where they kind of mocked all of us and our dean at the same time. So we have a lot of fun along the way, I guess is the way I would put it.
Kate, what would an SDU graduate tell me are the three things that most resonated with them?
Yeah, I would say that in the top 3 would be our international opportunities. So in our MSF program, we have a 1-week study abroad. Students have studied in Milan, Shanghai are 2 of the locations I can remember. There's another popular one, but those are the ones that are popping into my brain right now.
Yeah.
MSin Business Analytics has an international consulting project that they participate in. So unfortunately, we've only been able to do that on the ground once with our first cohort, where our students went to Madrid, Spain. University of San Diego actually has a center in Madrid. So our students were able to do some consulting work and actually do it from our center in Madrid. So those international projects are pretty unique, I think, to Specialized Masters, and certainly a huge draw at USD. Another piece that people would say they love about our programs is, USD overall, it was built to be an institution that's a very intimate learning environment. So classrooms really don't hold more than 30 to 40 students comfortably. We certainly have some big theater, auditorium style rooms, but for the most part, we are not trying to cram, hundreds of people into a room. And so that the relationships that our students develop with one another, with their faculty, as well as staff, even as an admissions director, I stay in touch with my students. I want to see what their journey is throughout the program. And I think that that's just a really unique experience for them, and an experience that keeps then our alumni extremely engaged, because they've been such an active part of the community at USD while in their graduate program. And I would say, kind of similar to that then is the level of professional and career development support. Again, when you have a class of 30 to 40 students, and you have a faculty member who's offering internships at her own data analytics company, you've got just that feeling that, wow, everybody is here to truly support my professional development. And I think that makes a lasting impression on our students.
Yeah, makes sense. Brock, how about at your school?
Yeah, we talk about the weatherhead community, much like, Kate mentioned, although we don't get the 70-degree weather year round, but we keep our thermostats at 70 and we all have sunny dispositions. But the weatherhead community is just such a great community and beautiful building that we're located in. And
it is one of the most unique buildings,
gorgeous.
Never mind business schools, universities ever.
It's a fascinating building, but the critical thing, I was just working, we had a student, I actually hired one of our BA students to do a project for us in enrollment management. And I've been keeping up with him. He's an international student, so he's trying to seek employment back home right now. And we keep up, and I keep doing referrals on his LinkedIn account, to make sure that he's getting the, kind of that real world experience references, in his LinkedIn account resume. But one of the things that we talked about that he mentioned was critically important was, 3 words. It was analyze, visualize, and communicate. And he said those 3 skills, as we worked on the project, he was working in enrollment management, an industry he was very unfamiliar with, and he had to quickly learn what that meant, all those terms and, the processes and, what we're aiming toward and all that. And, but for him, it was an ability for him to apply his ability to analyze, visualize, and communicate, and did a phenomenal project for us. And so I think that's just a great anecdote, kind of an example personally that I've seen in working with one student, that came out being able to articulate very well, what it was his, 1.5-year journey was like with us here, not only, at Weatherhead, but in Cleveland, Ohio, and experiencing winters, for the first time. And he just had really a great experience and fell in love with the community and his program.
Now, is experiential learning a part of your programs?
Yeah, so from the very beginning, I think, a lot of the programs probably have already mentioned this. I mean, once the students are accepted, they begin working with our program director, who is actually he's retired from business analytics. He spent his career in the industry. And so we hire program directors to bring those industry experience. Again, these specialized master's programs, they're gearing people to get jobs. And so we have program directors that work alongside career management in order to leverage their professional network to gain the internship in combination with classroom learning and projects and bringing in industry experts, but to gain that internship, but more importantly, that job upon completion of the program. So both it's that experience that's inside and outside the classroom that we invest in.
Right, great. Bruce, the 3 magical things that your graduates would most admire, respect, and think about long after they leave the campus.
Yeah, I think the first is we're a relatively small, business college. And so the majority of our programs will, I would say, take an average of about 30 students per year. So they're similar to what Kate said, they're in a classroom that's typically not going to exceed 30 or 40. And so that creates a sense of just closeness. One of our, core values at the university is inclusion. And so we are constantly looking for ways to have our students and our applicants, frankly, feel as included as possible. Our building just put in its first gender neutral bathroom. We have a very high respect for getting as many students from all different walks of life as possible. So inclusivity is certainly one of them. Right. I would say the second is certainly our location. We're fortunate, with the exception of a few of those rough months over the summer, to feel a lot like Southern California for most of the year. Weather-wise, not a ton of rain, very unusual to get snow. So campus is located in a beautiful spot. Tucson, Arizona in general is just a gorgeous place to be. So I think a lot of people that have joined us from elsewhere certainly remember that. And then I would say the third is really another of our values as a university is adaptability. That sort of flexibility to explore and to learn and to grow in areas that you may not have even known that you're interested in when you start with us. So with that in mind, our curriculum is designed to be as flexible as possible. So I mentioned earlier the variety of dual degrees that we offer, which I think are upward of 20 now, different combinations of things that people can take. And then within each individual program, typically you're going to get about half of your credits from electives that you choose. And so the elective selection is quite broad. And so I think people leave here with a very good experience in terms of their interactions with their staff and faculty, as well as their students in their cohort, but also having gotten a really tailored experience that is designed to be a beeline into whatever very specific industry that they might be interested in, that they may not have known about prior to the experience. So flexibility is a major piece for us, and exploration is huge.
That's great. And Greg, your graduates would say what about the program after they leave? What are the three things that they most resonated with them?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. First and foremost, they refer to us as the Cranert family. We believe in work hard, play hard. So there's a lot of social activities in between all the 1 a.m. studyings that's going on around here. And so just that sense of belonging, because although we have, I think, 46,000 students at the campus, we have about 450 in our master's programs. And so they really get to know each other and they get to know their professors. Most of our sections are 40 students or less, and they can kind of create what they want their experience to be. So there's a lot of extracurricular activities. The second thing that I would say would be our faculty. Purdue's an R1 institution. There's a lot of research in not only the B school, but across campus where they may have read somebody's book in undergrad and they're very accessible. They can set up an appointment and go meet with the faculty, and the students really enjoy that. And then the third thing I would say, which is probably the most impactful, is the placement that we've seen. So we started the program just a few years ago. Our first cohort was 22. We doubled that to 43. Then we went to 82 and then 81 last year. And throughout all of the years, our lowest placement number was 94%. And in 2019, we had 100% placement for our students. And this is, again, a heavily international student population. So in a lot of other programs, they see a huge challenge. And then the last thing I'd say on the faculty side is because our in-residence program, and we actually offer a business analytics online, which we just launched this year, but our in-residence, which has been around for a few years now, is the culmination of two different areas, and that's business analytics and information management, which is the name of the degree, Bain Business Analytics and Information Management. So you're getting the best of both worlds from our faculty. In our PhD programs, those are two very distinct, different tracks of study. But those are the things that I would attribute that the students talk about, and the placement that resonates with everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a good segue into my next question, because I want to talk about the secret sauce of any business school. Yes, you're going to have classmates who will become enduring friends. They're going to be like-minded, ambitious, smart like you. And eager to make a meaningful difference in the world. And that's a beautiful thing. You're going to have access to incredible faculty who are pioneers in their field, who know at a very ground level what it takes to succeed in a given discipline or in a career. But more than that, what you're going to get in a great business school out of graduate education is a career management center, people who are interested in making sure that your graduation culminates in successful placement in a job. Now, no one can guarantee placement, but let me tell you, those of you out there who've graduated from even great undergraduate institutions know how weak and often mediocre the career efforts of universities are for undergrads, particularly outside the business school community. Business schools, more often than not, see as part of their function the successful placement of their students. And so I want to talk a little bit about what do you do to prepare your graduates of specialty master's programs for the marketplace? How much hand-holding is there? Do you have individual coaches? Are there sessions? And then ultimately, what are the kinds of jobs that people get out of these different specialty master's programs? Since we're with you, Greg, and you raise placement, let's start with you.
Yeah, all great questions. So as I look at Purdue, and I think it's part of our DNA, Purdue actually coined the phrase data science way back when. At least that's attributed to us, as I understand it. The types of students that we receive, a lot of them are do have some work experience, as I mentioned earlier, but we do put them through what I would call kind of a finishing school. I talked about the communications, it's a core class. We talked about getting them involved in case competition. And I think what really differentiates one program, and I have to give credit to a whole bunch of people, faculty and staff alike, is the one-on-one personalization. Every student has a coach that they're assigned to that are going to help them with their elevator pitch, their resume, network. We have over 500,000, I think we're approaching 600,000 now, alumni worldwide. So we can reach far and wide to actually connect people in industry. As far as the industries that folks go into, it is literally all over the board. Whether it be banking, whether it be out in Silicon Valley, has picked up quite a few of our folks. Major companies like Google and Amazon have also been recruiting pretty heavily here because obviously they're kind of the leaders in understanding how to make business decisions with large amounts of data. So the recruiters that we see are all over the board. And I think the other thing too, which is really an advantage to our students, is we have the largest career event in the country. We have about 1,000 employers that come here in September. And so for the first few weeks, we're really prepping them up to go out and have those discussions so they can start lining up either an internship if they want to do an extended track, or if they want to do the 30 credit hour program and jump right onto the work train, if you will, at graduation in May, that we've established those connections. And it's not just the staff, it's not just the faculty, it takes the whole village to really prep people and leverage our connections and network that we have around the globe.
Right. Paul, what role does your Career Management Center play in getting your graduates jobs they really want?
That's a great question. And I would say that, as the executive director, I think of myself as a GM, and one of the great lucky breaks I got in the early years of my program was to recruit a guy named Larry Brayman, who is just an exceptional expert in the field of career services, having run a business himself, connecting outside candidates with jobs for 10 years before he got to us. But 10 years before that, he was a working actor. So he has this very interesting focus on, as you say, finishing school. And in fact, this year we gave him 10 weeks of a co-curricular course in the fall, where we talk about, he either speaks himself or brings in experts on things like data storytelling, client management, industry trends and KPIs, and really getting a sense of the landscape of tools, client readiness. And we do a simulation with that, advanced presentation skills, all the technical interviewing that you can do. And so it's literally an additional course that he runs for the first 10 weeks, with the idea that a lot of the industry is going to come early. So the high-tech companies are going to come expecting machine learning skills almost in the first week. And so when you take an economics major, you've got to get them ramped up fast. So we do that. And so it's a major component. In addition, of course, we bring, like I mentioned, improv comedy and lots of opportunities to sort of help shape and mold them to be the kind of people you want on your team. We focus heavily on that in our admissions process, but in addition, just helping people get comfortable with the idea that they're going to be speaking to a CEO who's going to expect them to have the answers pretty early in their career, especially having a younger student on average in the program. And so we work very closely with Larry. Individually, our students meet with him on a regular basis. He also hires our alums to come back as coaches, and they in turn run occasional courses and workshops to help prepare students. We fill in with technology as much as we can. And so, we data camp for additional training, but also 1220 for managing our career pipelines. So it's quite a large part of our degree program. Like Purdue, we've been very lucky and thankful to have 100% placement rates through our program to date, except last year with COVID. I think we're in the 90s at this point, still placing people. So it's a major factor. It's one we're quite proud of. And we've developed a slide this year that sort of shows an umbrella, and we talk about the spectrum of jobs. So those who come in tech heavier end up going into jobs like data scientist and data engineer. Those more business heavy go out into consulting with tier 1 firms. But right in the middle, there's all kinds of industry specific technology roles or analytics roles. So for example, operations or supply chain, or particular industries, entertainment, et cetera. So we try to cover that whole umbrella and be as broad as we possibly can.
Right. Kate, do your graduates have access to coaching?
They do, yeah. First, for MSF and our MS in Business Analytics, they actually have a professional seminar that's required, and it's all about professional development and the career search. So everything from from tweaking your resume to interview skills to ample networking opportunities with our alumni. So we've really built it into the actual curriculum of those programs. And it's partially because of what you said earlier, John, that at the undergrad level, career services, it depends on the school for sure, but can be on the weaker side or lack formality or structure. And so we found that to be a really, really critical piece of our specialty masters in particular, which often have individuals who don't have that work experience as a base. So again, we've built that into our curriculum as a mandatory class or seminar. And in addition to that, I think a lot of my colleagues have already mentioned that the hands-on sort of consulting opportunities, those hands-on projects, that's going to make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Particularly for our students that are making a big career switch, who might not have an analytics background, to say on their resume, oh, I did a consulting project for 3 different companies over the course of 10 months. That's what's getting them the jobs, is those kinds of hands-on opportunities.
Yeah, and I'll just make the point again. I mean, this is going to be true. And Brock, you mentioned this earlier with the internships and the experiential learning and how that helps prepare someone for a full-time job offer as well. And Bruce, I'm sure that at Arizona, it's a similar situation where you have one-on-one coaching, you have a lot of career workshops of one kind or another. And here's the truth about all. It not only will get you the job you want, but more importantly, it will teach you how to get the jobs you want in the future. How to network and use the alumni network, how to interview, how to best present yourself, how to use your experiences and leverage them to get the job offer. These are all things that you're going to be taught at a business school that you were never taught at an undergraduate institution or in any other graduate program, I might add, that's not business. Because a business school feels that its responsibility to you is not only to teach you your subject, your discipline, the area that you want to work in, that you have passion for. But the school's job isn't done until you are successfully put into the marketplace to be a contributor. And that's a big difference that I think any person out there who is considering these programs really needs to take into account. This is why they're so popular. This is why they're growing. This is why they are in demand. You know, we are out of time, and I could talk to you for another hour or 2 hours, and we still wouldn't cover everything that I would want to cover. But I really want to thank you for joining us. I'm sure our audience here in the present loved it, and our audience on demand, which will be even much larger and more global, will love it as well in the future. So Brock, Bruce, Kate, Paul, and Greg, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Stay safe and healthy, and I hope you get your vaccination soon.
Got one. I'm on my way.
I got shot 2 on Friday.
Congratulations.
Absolutely. I'm very happy about it. All right. Hey, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining us. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.